4 years ago, when we first started it, we really just kind of put it together for the state, but more or less it ended up being a lot of teams that work with us on the fundraising side. And we didn't charge them to even come. They showed up. We had some vendors down this one hall that is much smaller than what we currently have. And we had about 300 here. That was all started based on being a vendor at all these other clinics and seeing attendance dwindle. So with all the fundraising, I asked coaches, what are we missing? Why aren't people coming to clinics? What do we need? And that really just morphed into where we are today. It's the Iowa and Iowa State have always held their own clinic. But for as long as I've been in the business, I've always asked, why isn't there a clinic in Des Moines? So it just made sense. And then it helps that there's a casino in the back there that guys come to. So that's where we are today. We went from, like I said, about 300 or so the first year. Year two, we were around high fours. Last year we were about 550, and now we're almost 1,000. And the way we originally set it up was, again, trying to get as many as we could here. And what I mean by that is the coaches are now being crunched on how much time off they have from school. So we said, okay, well then let's start it on a Friday night at, let's say 6 o'clock. So a coach 3 hours away can still put in a full day of school and drive down. And now we're not taken away from them. So we put it together in that aspect to where Friday night we want to have college night. And the thinking was, let's really dive into some small colleges, some D2s, some NAIAs, some things like that. Because honestly, a lot of the high schools, they're still relatable. You know, yes, Iowa and Ferentz here and these D1 guys, they can talk X's and O's, but they're on a completely different level. The D2s and NAIAs, yeah, we've got a lot of Iowa kids that's their meat and potatoes. So Friday night, let's cater to some colleges. We want to make this kind of a Midwest thing. So we've always reached out to Missouri, Kansas, Minnesota, to area neighbor states, in addition to some local Iowa colleges. So which leads, this year Minnesota State, Wisconsin Platteville, and the University of Dubuque. It also helps that when we look for these schools, that they're halfway decent. All of those three schools had very good seasons, so it brings credibility to them. Then lastly, on Friday night, we want to have our keynote speaker, and what we said from the beginning was, Mr. Hayden Fry, that coaching tree has some deep roots. So let's just start reaching out to all these guys, and that's why why we've seen Barry Alvarez last year and now Bobby Elliott this year. So then you flip over to Saturday. Saturday we turn the page and now we focus on high schools. The Iowa coaches have told me they don't want the same regurgitation over and over again. So that's why you have a lot of out-of-state guys, because they love it. They're not afraid to divulge anything. So that's been the beauty of it. And it's just a lot of cold calling on schools. I emailed all the state champions from around us, and that's where we get all these schools coming down. And along with myself attending these nationwide Glacier clinics and a lot of their bigger nationwide clinics, we've had a ton of feedback that we're as good or better than Glacier clinics. So Glacier, I think, just has that stronghold that they're nationwide, everybody's familiar, everybody's comfortable with them. So and I'm not saying I'm going to challenge them, but nobody's really challenged them. So I think that's where we are, and this year proves it. I've had vendors tell me that we have more vendors here than at Glacier clinics, and I've had coaches say we have a better lineup than anything they've ever seen. And to bring that right here is awesome, because I grew up in Illinois, but having this in Des Moines, I've always said there aren't any Glacier clinics, obviously, in Iowa. There isn't one in Nebraska. We can do our own, and we can do it just as good right here in the backyard. And I mean, Prairie Meadows has been fantastic to work with. You got state-of-the-art facility, everything high tech, so it's been great.